This is Brandon with Fleet Feet, and today we've got the ASICS GT-2000 13. This is a lighter weight stability option, and I've actually run in the past few versions of this shoe, but it is needless to say, I actually think that this is the best GT yet. This shoe is best for daily training miles and is going to be a great alternative if you're not someone who's into the Kayano. Before we go any further, please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. But for now, let's just get into it. Starting with the upper is made up of an engineered mesh upper. This shoe fit true to size and it has a gusseted tongue. The tongue is quite thin, but there is quite a bit of padding around the heel collar for a little bit of extra support. Overall, I found that this is a pretty comfortable upper and step-in feel. One of our reviewers, Max, actually found that the midfoot of this shoe was a little bit more snug than he's used to, especially in ASICS shoes, and one of our reviewers, Spencer, also agrees. So while this shoe for me fit true to size, it was a little snug for some on our team. And whether this shoe is snug or it comes in wide or whether it fits one way or another, everyone's foot shape is a little bit different. So I would recommend going into your local Fleet Feet store, going to get your foot scanned, go through the Fit ID process and the outfitting experience, and go find out exactly whether this shoe is going to fit best for you. But for now, let's move on to the midsole. Now, the midsole of this shoe is made up of Flight Foam Blast Plus, which is going to be a little bit firmer than that of Flight Foam Blast Eco. Overall, the foam of this shoe is a little bit firmer than other traditional ASICS shoes, but it is actually softer than most stability shoes on the market. And in the heel, there is PureGEL, so there is a little bit of gel in here just for a little bit of extra shock absorption. But the big news about this shoe is the 3D guidance system, which is different from the 4D guidance system in the Kayano. The guidance system is placed on the medial side of the shoe between the midfoot and the heel. The 3D and the 4D guidance system both share three similar components. The first one being a pretty flared out midsole here. So what you can tell is just from the forefoot and from the midsole, you are going to get an extra added stability for a wider base. So you get the flared out midsole, you get a nice wide base, that's two things right there. And then you get a nice heel bevel as well. So that's all going to add quite a bit of stability in this shoe. But what's different from the Kayano to this shoe is that the Kayano actually has a slab of foam here in the medial area to just add a little bit more energy and support. But for the GT, it's more of a medial posting, which is a little bit firmer on the medial side. And one of our reviewers, Spencer, he's actually our stability reviewer, had a lot to say about the shoe and found that the 3D guidance system, he didn't really notice, but still added the stability that he needed. He found that the shoe wasn't too rigid and had enough support in the medial area. And for Max, this might be his favorite stability shoe that he's ever tested. He found that the stability makeup of this shoe wasn't that aggressive and it was more moderate, which is something that he preferred. He said it kind of feels like when a friend is just sort of helping you across the street. They're not dragging you, they're not pulling you, but they're just offering a little bit of a helping hand. It's just that little bit of extra assistance when going through your stride, but it isn't going to completely change up your running experience. The drop of this shoe comes in at 8 millimeters with 36.5 in the heel and 28.5 in the toe. For the women's model, 35.5 and 27.5. So this is a fairly high stack shoe and it is going to be quite protective. So when you're going through your stride, you're gonna have a lot of shock absorption, especially in the heel with that PureGEL. And the outsole is made up of Ahar Low, which is a bit more of a sturdy and firm outsole rubber. It's more aggressive and it is very durable. It's also the same outsole rubber that you can find in the ASICS Nova Blast 4. Let's move on to the ride and performance. And this is where Caroline found that this shoe was kind of working in two parts. The heel was very rigid and quite supportive where that medial posting is, but the forefoot of the shoe was much more flexible and a lot less rigid. Overall, she found that this shoe really worked well for her. The shoe was quite flexible, but it is quite firm. She usually doesn't run in firmer shoes, but for this one, this worked for her. I agree with Caroline. This is a little bit of a firmer shoe that I'm used to, but it has a higher stack and it is still softer than other stability shoes on the market. So for me, I can appreciate this shoe. I had no issues with toe off and the shoe felt pretty comfortable on my run. I can see how this is a shoe that even someone who is a neutral runner like myself still can benefit from a shoe like this, even with the medial posting. I can see how this shoe makes sense for those who are lightweight stability lovers and are looking for a shoe that is going to be a great option if they don't want to use the Kayano. Now, this shoe is pretty light, but how light? The men's model of this shoe comes in at 275 grams or 9.7 ounces, and for the women's model at 235 grams or 8.2 ounces. For a shoe that comes in under 10 ounces, that's pretty good, and one of our reviewers, Spencer, definitely found that it was very lightweight. Spencer found that he was able to go much faster in the shoe, and the lightweight was going to match his cadence really well. And the price of this shoe comes in at $145, which is cheaper than that of the Kayano. So if you don't want the Kayano at $165, not only is this going to be a lighter option, but it's going to be a cheaper option as well. Other shoes that fall into this category are the Saucony Guide at $140 and the New Balance 860 at $140. And if you want to learn even more about the shoe or check it out for yourself, you can go onto our blog, or you can shop the shoe online at fleetfeet.com, or you can walk into your local Fleet Feet store. What video do you want us to review next? Please drop that in the comments below. And if you want to check out other ASICS shoes in general or other lineups that we have to offer, you can check those out right here on our channel.